Okay, I'm gonna go through one of the groups in my hexapod taxonomy. I don't know how you get to it, or you've probably already watched it. So it's my big long video going over the different colored branches in Hexapoda. I'm going over one of the red branches. Okay, I'm gonna be going over 3 orders. Okay, we're going into Entognatha. Okay, so Entognatha is everything with external mouth parts. Entognatha is everything with internal mouth parts. Okay, it's a smaller grouping, obviously. Interestingly, these are all basal. Okay, which that just means that they evolved the least amount of times. Okay, it doesn't mean that there was no evolution. It just means kind of like trilobites. They hit something that works for them and they haven't had a need to really adjust more complex, okay? The 3 groups are proturans, or what we call the coneheads. They also call them the telson-tails, but I have never heard anybody call them the telson-tails. I know why they call them the telson-tails, but I've never heard it. And come to think, yeah, I've never ever heard of it. Huh. Okay, so next one is diplura, and these are called the 2-prong bristletails. Now, there's another group of bristletails called jumping bristletails, okay? And those are in Entognatha, okay? Which is in Entognatha, it's the second split, okay? There's jumping bristletails in there. These are 2-prong bristletails. And the better part is they look nothing alike. Nothing alike. So I'm just going to refer to them as bristletails, but I am distinctly referring to 2-prong bristletails in this video. And then we've got collembola, which are springtails. And anybody who has done anything in the terrarium, reptile, insect, hobbyist knows what a springtail is. So if you know someone who has a bioactive terrarium or vivarium, ask them to show you what a springtail is. And Sasha is really loud tonight, sorry. I need to slow down. I'm talking really fast because I'm trying to squish it all in, and I hate that because I feel like I'm not covering the information. So, okay. Disclaimer, these groups are really controversial to some degree. Not the existence of them, but the relatedness of them. Okay? Before I show you the chart, I have to explain that. Most studies cannot agree how they are all related. Even to Entognatha, or the bigger insect group, okay? The best guess is that they all kind of evolved independently. So it's a paraphyletic group, which just means that they aren't truly related, or they didn't share a close enough common ancestor for it to make sense that they are linked in a clade, okay? They may have similar features, but it's not because of relatedness, it's more because of adaptation. And the most recent study has done, the studies have gone back and forth. Some of them have lumped springtails with coneheads, and then sometimes said coneheads are with bristletails, and then some said, hey, springtails are with bristletails, and it just goes all over the place. Most recent study has said that springtails and bristletails are related, but not close, okay? So they have some relatedness, just not close. Then they found that coneheads were more related with Entognatha, which is in Entognatha, so we're going up a level and then down the other group. They're more related to insects proper. But the studies before that had disproven that. So that's how, the relationships are dicey and no one's quite sure. The best guess is they all had a crustacean ancestry, but they probably evolved independently with convergent features, which just means they have the same features, but they got them through the environment and their success versus inheriting them. All right, now to the chart. Okay, so this is the chart. This is Entognatha, external mouth parts. This is Entognatha, internal mouth parts. There's your proturans, or your coneheads, and they're more related to this. And then again, recent studies say springtails and diplur make their own little group, okay? Sidebar on why this happens and why these are similar. Because I think there is a simple success in the arthropod body plan. Things are easy to adapt. And because they adapt easy, they stick. So this is why trilobites were around for so long. And they didn't always change. Is they found what works for them, and because it works for them, they've stuck with it. Okay? So you get these primitive features that stick around because they work. And that's kind of, I think, what's happening here is I think there is a success to the arthropod body plan that has led to this like divergent competing lineages. Okay, now to the fun part, which is the morphology, which is the part I like and know the best. Okay, so first thing about all these are tiny. These are tiny. These are soil-dwelling microfauna. Okay, so they are all small. 2 of them are unpigmented, which means they have no color. Springtails are the only one that can occasionally have color, and then they have some really fun colors. But for the most part, coneheads and bristletails are white, ivory, or brown only because they're translucent and on mud. Okay, so you got your color down. You got your habitat. Again, they all are soil driven. All 3 of them also are moisture driven, so they tend to exist in humid environments, and that's why they're soil. If there is any aridness, they usually don't exist. Okay, so they are all apoteric, which means they are wingless. None of them have any wings throughout their development, whether it's eggs, nymphs, or adults. No wings. They also do not have metamorphosis, okay? That's how basal they are. They are what we call ametamorphic, which means they do not grow through metamorphosis. And metamorphosis is basically just rearranging parts. They still molt. They still go through indices, but they do not go through the same way. They molt through something called anamorphism, which just means the adult and the child, the larva version, are very similar. The only difference is segments or legs. If you need an easier way to understand this, Deep Look on YouTube did a episode on house centipedes. That's how they molt. They molt the exact same way, which again goes back to my point of they all have that simplicity of the body plan. It's so common that even something in Chelicerata does it. Okay, and those are definitely not related. So, the obvious feature, which I explained earlier, is the internal mandibles. Okay, they're all in their head. Interestingly enough, because they're in their head, they all have a really common feature called the gnathial pouch. Okay, and that is a thin membrane that surrounds the inner maxillae. Okay, or the inner part of the mouth. Okay, I've not gone over mouth part stuff, but it's there. They all have external fertilization. They are all believed to be detritivores. Now this is, there's contention there, okay? But they need the soil and they need the moisture, and they are all what we call cryptozootic, which means they are hidden, okay? So that's the shared features. My next video is going to go over the features that make them divisive, that divide them.